everybody. Welcome to another episode of Couples Therapy Season 5, talking about Episode 6. I'm your host, Tane. Here, as always, with me is Jen. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this emotional roller coaster. Last week I felt good, and then this week I'm feeling something different. So, these people are putting me through it, but I'm ready.
Yes, it was heavy. They did good by putting Chris and Sienna last because that was a lot.
A whole lot.
That was a lot. And I feel that they also do not quite enjoy Shay and Clinton. I always feel like they just rush through there. It's like, here, let's just get through them and then that's it. So I'm not
I
complaining because they drain me.
no. Yes, they're a lot. Like even when they walk in, their body language when they walk in, it's like, oh no, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen now?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, before we start, just reminding you guys, patreon.com/Tane Talks, TAYNETALKS. You can find bonus episodes on there. You can find ad-free regular episodes, and you can find video episodes. Sometimes I put my face out there with my guests, and you can find them on Patreon. The last bonus episodes I am covering this season 3 of 90 Day Fiancé, The Last Resort, and these people are a time. They are insane, but they are a time and I am amused by them. So I'm covering that over there. And also just covered the documentary Maternal Instinct because we are walking among people who are out there in the world. Okay.
I mean, and I remember that story when it happened, so I have it on my list of things to watch, and I'll definitely
Hmm.
listen to your episode. But I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Yes, people are wild.
Not for it to be a spoiler alert, but part of my gripe of what's going on in a lot of the documentaries that we're now seeing lately is that they really don't get into half or a quarter of the stuff that really happened. And you kind of have to piece through and watch other things just to figure out what the hell happened. So this happens here. But yeah, it's worth a watch. Just like, wow. Okay, as we mentioned at the top of the episode, they do start with Shay and Clinton. And I was like, oh boy, we are starting with them. But you know what? That's good. Let's just get it out the way, let it come through. And I'm just like, it does not look good because Clinton comes into the hallway looking dejected. And then Shay comes in separately and they say hi. He is not looking at her. And then I steal
No.
myself. I find myself going, oh my God, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah. I mean, kind of wonder. I mean, I guess they have to show up because they're contractually obligated, but it definitely
Mhm.
gave Richard Sherman, I'm here so I don't get fined vibes. And it was just like, oh no. And poor Orna is in this nice white outfit. It's like, oh girl, you have no idea what's happening. You're like Carrie, they're about to throw some blood on that outfit. Oh no.
Yes, that is the case. She's all like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm like, "Ah, well." Shay seems unbothered though. She just comes in, or maybe she's just so angry, and I was reading that as unbothered. And Orna's like, "What's up?" She didn't say that, but abbreviation. That's my interpretation. And
She
Clinton
should.
says,
She should. That'd be amazing.
Clinton says, it took 2 days after our last session for us to stop fighting again. And Orna's like, okay, what happened? That they were talking about the open relationship aspect of it all. This has been a critique of mine of this season. Jen, have they
What's
mentioned
that?
that they're in an open relationship?
No, but also, do you guys need more stuff to add to this? Like, you have a lot going on. Why are you
Oh
adding more?
my I was
But
like,
no.
Excuse me, we were not told about this. Orna, I don't think you're shocked enough for me because now I'm thinking I should know this. What? This is how Marjorie and Jason, who are not featured this time, came last time and was like, yeah, they came to pick up Shelby, and then Ryan, and I'm like, okay, who these people? Harper, who those people? I don't know. So
I
I'm like,
mean,
okay, we'll just keep up and we'll keep moving on with them. There's an open relationship aspect on top of
yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
That,
With these two, there's too many things to keep straight, pun intended.
yes. So, um, she asked them, okay, tell me about the parameters of your relationship. And Shay has reverted to her matter of fact tone and said at the beginning of their relationship, she was seeing someone else, and he was very aware of that. She stopped it because Clinton wanted monogamy. She agreed for a good amount of time. That's what happened. They were just going along with the monogamy. I guess she was saying that to say it wasn't really what I wanted, but I loved him. It's what he wanted. So, sure, I did that. Then she says, very casually too, I was not getting my needs met, but I still wanted to have sex. And I'm capable of separating the two. And he agreed to that. Like, okay, we're going to do that. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I'm like, Orna, are we going to ask? What does that mean? Like, are we not having sex? What? But there's no answer, guys.
Also, and Clinton was a rockin', and so I was like, "Oh, I mean, he's got something to say." And so I know sometimes you can't stop everything to give attention to him, and normally Orna does a really good job of kind of making sure he doesn't take over the session, but he had something to say.
I know, but even before he has something to say, like she still has a way to always go in, but it doesn't even look like she had that question. And for me to follow the story, still reeling from the fact that I didn't know there was an open relationship aspect, and then that the reason why they went into that is because she wasn't getting her needs met.
No, we have to
Oh,
move on
that
like
was
they
a
did.
bummer. That was a bummer, I gotta tell you, because that's a huge piece that I would like to be filled. No pun intended, you know? So, so she said, except for the fact that Clinton has not followed the rules. And then that he was speaking and he was talking to two people. And at this point, like Jen said, Clinton is making faces. He's like, oh, no, what? And Shay is like, it's okay. I'll tell her how I found out. I'm not ashamed. And before she could even finish her sentence, he's like, she went through my damn phone when I was sleeping. And then she's like, I did not. One, your phone was going off repeatedly late at night. Honor's like, I don't care how you found out. I want to get to
I
the
love that for her. I love that for her. Like, can we not the minutia of this is none of my damn business. Like, what is like let's get to the core of this because if you let them, the two of them will go back and forth all day about the minutia of it. The I did this, you did that. No, I didn't. Yes, you
Yep.
did. No, you didn't. So yeah, she definitely had to call that out. So good on you, Orna. Orna won. These two fools zero.
So Shay continues and she says, like, he met up with two women and they're in an open relationship, so there's nothing to hide. Like, he could have just been upfront about it. But, like, I don't know. I think it's a disease with men. They just want to lie. Like, I don't even know. You're in an open relationship. You could just mention that, hey, I'm talking to this person and whatever the case may be in this situation. He said, the first time I told her about it, the second time the person was working near my house and we just met up and I didn't get a chance to tell her. And I'm like, Clinton, this is weak sauce, because let's just assume this is true and she just happened to come near your house. It takes 5 seconds to send a text. Even after it happened, I'm sure you've seen her. You could have said, hey, by the way, I met up with this person and it just happened. It was spontaneous, it wasn't planned, but just full transparency, just wanted to let you know, sorry I didn't get a chance to tell you, like a lot of things. But you know Clinton says that she was working near his house. Like, there had to have been a whole conversation to find out, for the person to know where you're working, for you to know they were close to you, for you to give directions on where to meet. In all of that time, you could have shot your girlfriend a quick text. Okay.
I mean, and also, and again, I'm not trying to be on anybody's side here, but I don't know. I was like, is Shay easy to talk to? But also, I don't know. It's a lot, too much.
Well, it's better. You're gonna get her wrath anyway. You might as well get it for telling the
Yeah,
truth. So it
that's
is what it
true.
is. So, so this person he mentions was also in the beginning of their transition, and they met in one of his meetup groups that is for neurodivergent people. And Clinton says, like, they were just showing off some of their stuff, like in the midst of their transition, they were getting like new clothes. And Shay enlightens us and adds, like, they were half naked photos, by the way. And I'm like, okay, Clinton, you are missing out a lot of things. Like,
What?
uh,
I was just helping her pick out clothes. What? What's the problem?
so he says, yeah, I was just encouraging her. And he understands like how it could be misunderstood, like he was doing something behind her back. And, it created mistrust and misunderstanding. Shay is like, there's no misunderstanding here. I understood quite completely what was happening. Honor is like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what is the issue with the open relationship. He's like, okay, I jumped on a Discord and you're familiar with Discord, right?
No, ma'am, I am old. This sounds like one of those apps where messages disappear. So, no, what is this?
No, it's like a forum where you can go on there and then you can chat and then you just have like group messaging and you talk about stuff. I'm a member for like a book club. There's a group in my city where you can do audiobook walks. So we meet there to find like the location and then where we're gonna meet. So it's basically like a chat forum. That's the best way to put it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I
But
guess
also, it seems like he's exclusively in one for trans people, but he's not trans. So I got super confused with that.
no, he's on that. I thought he said it was for neurodivergent people, but there happens to be a
He
lot of trans
did.
people. Oh, that was for the meetup group.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So many things.
Okay. So they didn't tell us. Yes, you're right. You're right because they didn't tell us what the group was on Discord. They told us he told us for the meetup group that it was for neurodivergent people, but for the Discord, I don't think I know what the group is about, but he does say that he's excited about it, like he's randomly just talking to people like in a new community and he's learning new things and yes, there's a lot of trans women in this group. So I get what you're saying because he dates trans women. So it's kind of like, are
Mhm.
you in it because it's a pool for you to find people to date? Or are you really
Right.
there to learn new things? Or maybe all of the above.
Mm.
Maybe that's what it is. So Shay says that he's not casually talking to these people. And he's like, I'm not lying. And she goes, yes, you are. You are because I can pull up the receipts that you're lying. And Clinton's like, do you hear that? Do you hear her threatening me? And I was like, was that a threat? I don't know. She
No,
just said she had receipts. you know, sometimes you can't help how you interpret things. It doesn't mean that's what happened. But did you see it as a threat?
I mean, it feels like a threat when you're wrong. It feels like a threat when you're caught. It feels like a threat when, you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. So I don't think it was, but I could see how Clinton would feel like it is. And it's tough because we're getting calm, collected Shay. We have no idea what these are like in real time. Is she this calm, collected Shay when they're having these conversations, or is she a different person? And I part of me feels like it's a different person, which is why he potentially, other than just being a liar, liar face, is so hesitant about approaching her and being honest with her. Because to your point, he's just going to face the wrath anyway.
Well, I don't think she's a different person because you say cool, calm, and collected, but underneath that is like a wrath. Like it's like the
Yes.
tone is unmistakable, and it is a tad like scary. Like I would be scared to be like, oh, that like this is what I think when he says that there's shades of her mom in her. I
Mm,
think this is what it is. Because yes, she's being cool and calm, but you cannot mistake what she's saying in the tone and everything that she's saying. Like she's seething while she's saying these things. So she's like, I can prove it. I have receipts. And she picks up her phone. No, he says, like, even in the group, oh, at this point, I'm sorry. When she said, do you hear her threatening me? Honor is like, nah, like, I don't like this. My mom's did this shit to me, and I'm tired of this shit. And all this while Honor is just like, Clinton, stop, stop, stop. And Honor says, like, well, you guys are both going to tell each other what matters to you about what's going on here. Like, stop arguing about facts and semantics and what said and this said. Like, we need to figure out the root of what's making both of you upset. Shay says he has been seeing a girl in the group and he has said in this same group that he has two girlfriends. Then he's like, I don't think so. Like, show me. Then Shay picks up her phone to show us what it is. And I'm like, girl, you should have screenshot that, had it saved, so that when it comes up, you're just like, here. Because we had to watch for like a few minutes and she was scrolling and looking for it. And it took too much time. And Orna was like, okay, while she's scrolling, do you, Clinton, want to say what you discovered? And she says that no, sorry, Shay continues and was like, he has been having an intimate relationship with this girl and he has been talking about vulnerable details of Shay's life in the group without asking her and saying like, oh, he's doing it under the guise of helping people. This is a red flag on the play. This is horrible. This is like such a huge break of trust.
yeah.
by Clinton, but then it's also like, on what scale do you judge him by? Because is he aware? Again, I'm not fully 100%. I don't understand where he lies on the spectrum of his diagnosis, his autism diagnosis. I don't know if he's aware that this is such a huge break of trust and it's not okay, or if he feels like, oh, I have this experience, I can be out there, I'm helping people, or he's just in the high of, oh man, for once, I'm the one that has the knowledge, not realizing
That's
that you're sharing someone's private information. Sorry, go ahead.
that's what I took it as. I took it as, especially after everything that happened with the credit card issue, especially everything that happened with that with the was it her laptop cord, or he made the suggestion for the cord and she was like, no, pick the other one. Like, I feel like he's really just looking for a win, and he wants to be helpful, and he wants to be in a position where he feels like he's valued. And I don't know if he's getting that from his relationship. So it sounds like he's getting that from other places. And I don't think he thought about the ethics of it. I think he feels like, oh, this feels good. I have something to add, and people are coming to me and people are showing me their outfits. Like, it really just feels like I'm in a place where I feel valued. And I'm a little sad that that wasn't addressed.
Hmm. Well, here's where I'm confused again, because if he's having an intimate relationship with a girl, I guess she wasn't clear if it was just an emotional intimacy or if it's like physical intimacy. Because I'm like, so if he's having sex with her, why are they not having sex, or is it that they're having sex but her needs are not being met? I don't know.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
so much gray area.
I took it as maybe like when this conversation happened, that maybe they were in a slump, and this was a way to address that slump, and then they just continued with it. But again, we don't have any context
Yeah.
into when this happened and how. I mean, obviously it's going on now,
Yeah.
but what was the parameters of it? And Orna said, like, what matters to you? She asked, what matters to you about what's going on here? And she asked it, but then they got stuck in their minutia again.
Yeah.
So it's like, dang it.
Yeah. Um, he says that he understands. And Orna is like, okay, say it back. What do you understand from what she said? But he actually did. He says it back and he was like, he seems to understand. And he says, I'm sorry. Like, I apologize. Like, this was a lot. She says, I hear it, but I'm mad. I'm mad that he's emotionally tying himself to people who aren't there. And she's here. She has fed him emotionally, spiritually, physically, and the audacity of him to use her story and share that with other people. So I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back.
Jonathan Walton here from Queen of the Con with a brand new podcast series to tell you about. It's called Hardcore Con. In each episode, we not only tell you a crazy con story, but we expose the specific brain hacks professional scammers use to get what they want. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's marriage, sometimes it's murder. Scamming is a billion-dollar industry, and I'm going to teach you why con artists are so successful these days. Listen to Hardcore Con wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Hardcore Con.
Okay, I'm back. So Clinton is like, can I see? Like, he's still stuck on that text. He's like, can I see what
No,
that text says? Because there
I
might be
know.
context. I might, I don't think did I really say that? And hallelujah,
Hmm.
she found it. She has it. It is ready to go. And then he gives it to her. Honor is saying, like, what is, what part is most painful to you, Shay? And basically, she barks this out. Honestly, I can't say that she said it. She barks, he can't even be honest with me in an open relationship. And in the background, Clinton is still reading, and I'm like, it's taking a little too long to read. That he must be in the wrong. And then when they turn to him, he's like, okay, that's fair. I'm sorry.
Which is like, bro, but also you wrote this. How do you not remember what you wrote? How many conversations are you having
Yeah.
that you can't remember that you've said this very specific thing, and also this very specific thing that you know that she's read?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what?
Oh man. But also, I mean, the other thing that was also skipped, which again, I understand. It's like a long session, right? And they can't put everything in there, is yes, she went through his phone. Yes, she might have said, "Oh, it was going off incessantly." Well, tell him to turn it off or tell him, hey, your phone's ringing. Like someone's phone going off, some may disagree, doesn't mean, oh, free for all. That means I can go through your phone and go through everything.
Yeah.
That is her invading his privacy. And then for her to have it, enough to have screenshots, enough to have had it and download it. And this is on the Discord, not the text and everything. I'm like, okay, what are we doing in a relationship if we are getting information from each other without knowledge? That's not a good sign. So,
And the words that she used were so pointed, where she was, when she was upset and she was talking about, I feed you spiritually, I feed you this, and she said, this is what you bring to my table. And I don't know
mm,
why that stuck out in my head, was like,
mm,
oh, okay, we're at the Shay show. And
mhm. Yeah.
that's a big deal. Like, this is what you bring to my table. And her table, in whatever that means to her,
Mhm.
is, you're not bringing what I need. So why are you in this relationship? You can't trust him. You guys aren't intimate. You can't rely on him. He's getting his validation from outside. What are we working for? What are we fighting for here?
I want to get through their segment and then I'm going to share what I think and then you let me know
Please,
what you think of
please do.
that. So, um Orna says he says I'm sorry. She's like, yeah, like I don't know if I accept that sorry. Like it's a I'm caught now, so I'm sorry. Orna says like, okay, we can agree that talking right now is not effective. So I have homework for you. And I'm like, yay, homework that we're never gonna see the follow up or the follow through of that. And then she tells them like, I'm gonna let you read a letter. That no, you guys write a letter to each other, no more than 250 words, no insults, no cynicism, and just let's see, get your words out there, get your feelings out there, and then we'll see, what happens. And Shay practically like storms out, like she just leaves. So I don't know if they're gonna talk to each other this week. So then we see Orna talking to Virginia and telling her about Discord and telling her how he developed emotional intimacy, which breaks the rules. Because it also, when she said that, that's when I realized that they never actually said what the rules, or maybe did she? Do you recall her saying the rules of their relationship?
No, no,
Yeah. Okay.
no. And either it was cut out, or we were so busy in the minutia of who did what and who said what, that we missed it. But no.
Yeah. So that was the first time I was hearing that what the rules were was like, don't get close emotionally. Well, I guess we can infer that because she was saying I can separate the two, but she wasn't saying, if thinking back, when she was talking about their open relationship, she wasn't saying we can, she kept saying I can separate the two. So then I can have sex or whatever, but can Clinton separate the
Well, obviously not, since he's, whatever relationship he's engaged with these additional people, it seems like he's gone to an emotional place, at least emotional enough to call somebody else his girlfriend. So he's violated whatever terms of their agreement, A, by lying, but then B, by changing the nature of their relationship. Because again, she said, to your point, that she can separate the emotion from the sex, and I don't think he can, which
two? Yeah.
again is something they probably should have dug into.
Yeah. And well, it's one of those things where I think she called the shots and they just went with it.
Yeah. Right?
So yeah, she's saying like how he developed emotional intimacy and his attention is now going there instead of going to Shay. Virginia says that the feeling she has is that Clinton is overwhelmed by Shay. I was like, I can agree with that. I think so. She knows too much. She knows everything. And so he may need another domain and have his own thing. And then we see them just have dinner separately, him at home, she at a very nice restaurant. And then they edit it like Nessa and Drea are also there because she looks across and then we just see them having dinner. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a first. They're meeting each other and they're going to show it on there. But that's not the case. They transition into Nessa and Drea. But before we go in there, I'm going to share what my theory on these two are. So I
Please do.
just read a book by Elizabeth Gilbert. Some of you may know her best from, she's the person who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which was about her life. And the book is All the Way to the River. It's kind of like a memoir where she talks about her life and her relationship with her, I don't know if they got married, her partner, who died from cancer, and just the last years and all the things that happened in between, the addictions. And she shares about being now her partner was an actual drug addict, like drugs. She shares about being a sex and love addict. And I got to tell you that I have never, they talk about sex addicts all the time, but for me, it's in the context of celebrities who cheat and they've gone to rehab for sex addiction. That's that's about the level of what I know. So I've never seen anyone talk about it the way she has. And she talks basically about how she puts all her emotional needs on someone and she just wants that validated. She actually went to rehab for this. She says that like when she's in this zone and in that addiction, which is why, for those of you who remember, for Eat Pray Love, she met someone, she was together. Before she got with this partner, she was married to someone. And, this was her best friend. And once she got that diagnosis, she decided, like, no, I love this person. And it was her best friend, but she was doing everything to make her life easier, like even giving her a house. When she even got diagnosed and she'd be like, oh, I want a Rolex, she'd buy the Rolex for her, even though she's dying and she didn't need it. But she described how losing, like when she's in it, she loses her sense of self, she abandons her boundaries to constantly please others and goes to extreme lengths just to secure validation and connection. Like in her mind, as long as I'm partnered with someone and I'm taking care of them, like I feel some kind of validation. And some of the things she mentioned is like the blackout phenomenon, where she has explained that she gets so swept up in a partner that again she loses all judgment. Like even sometimes she wakes up months later wondering what happened to her life and her boundaries. Is it clicking yet, or I keep going?
Well, I started that book, so I know
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about because I'm very curious.
Okay.
I didn't read Eat, Pray, Love, but I did start this book.
Okay.
And yes and no. I guess there's an element of,
Wait.
and again, I didn't.
Let me fin-
Go
well
ahead.
let me just, I'm just trying to make sure like I haven't lost you yet with all that.
Yeah,
I'm just
no, no,
laying
no.
it out to
I'm here.
say, so this is the closest for me to understanding why Shay is with Clinton. Because we've been asking this question, right? Why is she with him? She's not getting anything out of it. What is she getting out of it? But if she is in some way kind of addicted to it and having that validation that I have a partner that I have the upper hand on and I can take care of them, I do think that Virginia is right that while he's trying to find himself, he's finding other avenues. There are other people who are finding him interesting. Shay is
Mhm.
scared. Shay is scared that she's not going to hold that position. She was basically his savior. She got him out of his mom's house. She got him out of debt by paying all his credit cards and all that stuff. And it's like he looks at her like, oh my God, like she's the one who knows stuff. But lately, as he's beginning to grow, we've heard him say, even the fight about the phone charger, it was him saying, like, I have ideas too. Let me, when
Mhm.
they talked about their mom, he's like, help me. You don't have to do the taking care of. I can do it too. So I think
Mhm.
like Shay's scared that she's going to lose that power. He's going to find something. And then at some point, remember when she yelled and said, I've invested emotionally and done that or whatever? That's something Gilbert mentions in her book, that I'm doing these things and it seems like, oh, I'm being benevolent and I love you, but I'm expecting in return, like, you owe me. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
did this, so you should look at me like I'm your thing. Like someone, and I think that part of the fear that Shay has is like he's gonna find himself, he's gonna realize like I don't have to be in this. Someone will appreciate me and it will be a partnership, and someone will reap the benefits of the investment that she has put in everything in that. What do you think?
I love you to death for putting all of this investment in it and finding kind of outside resources to kind of figure out why this situation is happening. I love you so much. I hear what you're saying. I
Yeah.
think that it does make sense. I think when you're trying, especially when we're not in the room and we're not hearing the whole story, to try to figure
Yeah.
out, hey, here's something else that I'm familiar with that I can make sense of what's happening here. I
Hmm.
don't know. I think that the hardest part for Shay, and that's the part we need to dig into, or Orna, I hope digs into, is like, why are you doing this? You've come in here and all of these things feel negative. They feel heavy, they feel draining, they feel all of this. So why are you still here? And maybe that's a question that Orna needs to ask and maybe Shay hasn't thought of. And it might be all of those things that you're saying, that she's a love addict. It might be that, hey, she was abandoned by her mother and she doesn't want to do that to somebody else. But at the same time, she's also saying, I'm used to somebody who's different. I'm used to somebody who's more mature, who's more established, who's more stable, who's more this, who's more this. So if I can't marry the two things of I want this, but I'm going to stay with that and not feel like I'm settling?
Because when she stays with the people who are more mature and more established, she's not the upper hand in the relationship. She doesn't get to be the upper hand. She's the one who knows less, makes less money, has less, and the other person gets to do it, and she needs to be in control. That's my
But is she just if she is she this frustrated? Is she that as frustrated as she is in this relationship? Was she less frustrated in the other? And that's what she's got to figure out, or we've got to Orna has to dig out. But I hear what you're saying, and
yeah
it does make sense.
yeah
Good on
because
you. You are a therapist. Look at you, you
no
little armchair expert.
no, because it really, like, really truly, I wish like we get there, but it really truly doesn't make any sense why she's in this. And I guess now it makes sense that the open relationship is an outlet. Like whatever it is that she's not getting, she can also kind of get it from there. Because yes, she's saying that I can separate the two, but we don't know. Is Clinton going through her phone? Even if she establishes an emotional intimacy, are we gonna know?
Right.
Because it's on her terms. Like she's the one who has to dictate, what's going on at the time. But all that being said, why are you lying, Clinton? Like why? Like, no matter what happens, and he can't even say that he's scared or anything because he'd be yelling back too. So no, stop lying. You have an out. You have everything that you can say. Like, please, just try. You know. So, all
And that
right.
may be and that may be his default for, he went undiagnosed for so long that maybe his default to reacting to things when he's confronted with them and a lie, or it could be just because he's a man. I don't know, but this is something that has served him in some way,
Yeah.
and it needs to unserve him or figure out a way to serve him in a way that's better managed in this relationship.
Yeah. And we know why he's with Shay. He's the one getting the benefits. But also, I think the psychological part is also like he's dating his mother. Whether he realizes that or not, there's been so many times where he brings up, like, I went through this with my mother, including this episode. And kind of like when people say, like, you date your father, whether subconsciously or not, it's what's familiar. Unfortunately, in our lives and in our patterns, it's just we go to the unfamiliar, even if it sucks and it hurts, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, I'll take a quick break before we talk for Drea and Nesser, my faves. We're back. Jen is a hater. I'm
I
just
am
fascinated by them. I'm
am
just
I
fascinated by them. I'm not saying that they're great. It's just like when I watch Clinton and Shay, like I mean, some may argue that for Drea and Nessa, honestly, but I'm just fascinated because again, I don't know what's gonna come out of their mouth each time. Um, I don't know about you, but I feel like this episode or this session happened before last week's episode because I was so confused. I thought,
And yeah, and
oh, go ahead.
they cut it a couple different times where they were wearing different clothes. So yeah, something was happening, or this is just the nature of their relationship where one step forward, 115 steps back. I don't know.
I think they started in the beginning how they usually do with something that happened before, and then we actually came back to the actual um yeah, they showed an old session. We got to see Orna with her peers, and then we had actual therapy in different clothes in current day
I do love those
therapy.
peer groups. I love those
So
peer
that's what
groups.
the clothes situation was. So
Gotcha.
okay, so Drea is back as a narrator and saying that uh sorry, it's Nessa. Drea is never the narrator until she decides that I need to fill in the blanks because Nessa is leaving things out. Nessa
Right.
is back as the narrator and was describing how Drea was having a bad day and she just looked at her and is like, "Oh my god, what's wrong now? How can I make it better?" And her first thought is like, "I need to escape from this." I'm like, the use of the word escape is way too much in this marriage. I just what Drea does not
I mean,
deserve to hear how many times Nessa just does not want to be in her presence.
it's true. If I have to give Ronessa credit for anything, it's being honest. Like there's no ambiguity in what she means. When she said escape, that was not a mistake. If she said escape, she was like, "Oh no, you look grumpy. I'm going to another Caribbean festival. I'm out."
Okay, so Orna says you are talking about yourself. not Drea, which is like if she's in a mood or if she's tired, you feel compelled to do something about it. And she goes, yeah, like it's just a pattern that's played out for so long and it's just what I resort to. She said she used to do it for her mom. Like sometimes she wouldn't go out and play because she knew like her mom was sad. And Orna was like, you were kind of like your mom's therapist. And she was like, kind of. Not like she would tell me adult stuff, but I'll be there for her and I'll listen. So Orna is sharing about this pattern. So again, this was an old session, and Orna is just drawing from it to tell the peers about what she knows about them, and that she needs to know how they can separate out of hurt, not out of desire to separate. Orna says, like, why this is happening, we are still not completely clear. But Orna wants them to cut the umbilical cord and have them be separate individuals, which again was a little frustrating in the order that it was served because last week we saw them actually separate. Where Drea
Right.
talks about, oh, I did stuff. And she's like, oh, I went separate and I found her attractive. So watching it in this order is just kind of like, my brain's doing too much work to kind of reconcile, both. I don't like it. So
Right.
it's therapy time. We are back to present day. They're both here for therapy. And Drea's like, yeah, I feel like things are good. They go from playful, but then all of a sudden it switches to getting the cold shoulder. And Orna asks, when was the last time it happened? She says, 4 days ago. Again, remember the last episode was they were good. Someone went, they didn't see each other. And because Nessa felt like Drea was wearing sleepwear that implied like she want to bounce chicka wow wow, she immediately went to go play video games. And Nessa
So
was
rude.
like,
So rude. Which is so funny because that happened last week with Chris when
yeah.
Sienna was like, let's go. And he was like, I'm tired. So, what is the pattern of this?
So Nessa was just like, yeah, I don't want to do something because she wants to. And I also didn't want to be distant, but we were in the same room. But again, remember, guys, they just had sex. They were making each other feel better. So this is just how did we go from here to there? Again, remember last week, guys, they took us on a roller coaster because the one before they were separating. Guys,
Keep, keeping us on our toes.
I mean, I know I said this is why I like them. You just never know. We're just playing, that dance game when you go to the arcade and you're just jumping around trying to follow the lights and do a dance. That's what they do with us.
Dance
So
Dance Revolution,
there
couples
you
therapy.
go. So Drea says, like, I didn't do all of that to entice you and you're pissing me off. And then they start talking over each other because one thing about Nessa, she will always try to drive her point home. Like, nope, you are not going to misunderstand me. I'm saying what I'm saying. Voices are raised. Orna is like, stop, stop. And I'm like, you know how reality TV, sometimes we have security in the background. We might need that just to be like, guys, someone blow a whistle or something just to
Yeah.
do
Oh,
that.
and I got so upset because when Orna was trying to get them to simmer down, Ronessa said, "Hold." Put her finger up at Orna and said, "Hold on, Orna." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. We don't do this in Orna's house. How dare you?"
So Orna is like, I mean, I said Orna. Drea is like, I felt rejected. I'm like, wait, why did you feel rejected? You weren't trying to seduce her by wearing your sexy nightwear, which is the same thing you wore, and it worked, and they had sex. Also, aren't you guys good? Why are we not wanting to have sex anymore? I confused.
Right.
So,
But whether or not she did it on purpose and whether or not, which is so, I guess it happens in a long-term relationship where you need to give somebody the signal. If you're not the person that initiates it,
mhm,
that you've got to give the other person the signal that like, okay, I'm ready. So
mhm.
I don't necessarily, I can see how she feels rejected, whether or not she intended to send a signal. Like at least say I look pretty. Like if I wear something that I feel cute in and the thing that I feel cute in causes you to leave the room, I'm going to feel rejected whether or not I was going to trying to send you a signal or not.
Okay, I think the difference is she absolutely was sending a signal. She doesn't want to admit it, but she absolutely
Again, that's
was.
painful.
She wore it before. It worked. Well, Nessa did not say it delicately. She was like, "I fell for it." This is her wife.
Yeah.
This
I
is your wife that you're
mm,
saying I fell for it too. And she
mhm.
did it. And we know, like, she's in her prime, like we were told. And, why not? That is her wife. Anyways, so yes, so I think she was, and I think she was rejected. I just wish like stand on business and be like, yes, I wanted to do it, but why is it such taboo that you want to have sex with your wife? But again, maybe it's the order in which they're showing it, because Nessa did at some point wanted sex off the table. So maybe this
Yeah.
was before they had their rendezvous. I don't know. So Orna asks, like, is it possible that is it possible that in her mind to find her own in her own space, for Nessa to realize that she's putting Drea through a level of rejection that is hard for her to tolerate. It took her a while to get there, because honestly, same. I was like, okay, one word. Go through her mind, find your own space, level of rejection. Like, she got it though. And she says she
Hey,
knows. Oh,
if
go ahead.
Ronessa's one that likes the word salad, so I applaud Orna for giving it right back to her. Boom.
But we gotta watch it too, and I'm just like, wait, this is just couple two, and I just finished Shane Clinton, so give me a second. So she says that she knows that she's hurting her, and she's not trying to convince her. And I think I do feel that Nessa is in defense mode, because she can sense that Orna doesn't pick sides, but I think she can sense that if we're picking sides, Orna is Andrea's side, because it's very clear what Nessa wants to do. And that whole, if you remember a couple of episodes ago when they had the villain conversation.
Yeah, yeah. She said,
You,
"You're not the villain, but you're the person initiating this."
well, in so many words, because Nessa was just like, I'm the villain. She's like, well, somebody has, you're the one initiating. She's like, okay, so then I'm the villain. Like, you can make it nice, but basically, I'm the villain. So I do feel like she is defensive. And she's saying, oh, and then when she says, I'm not trying to convince her, because I think at some point Orna had said that she's very convincing. And another point she had said, stop trying to convince her that she's not XYZ. So there's been many instances in that case. But she said she's not trying to convince her. But when she remembers the situation wrong, I have to tell her that that's not correct. And Orna says that she's not remembering the situation wrong, that she is remembering what matters to her. Jen, I'm lost. I don't know what Orna's saying right now. I'm not even gonna fake like I understood. I was just like, I'll just ask Jen what that I don't know. What does that mean?
I I mean, I think, and just having to pull back fully from this whole thing and getting out of the word salad of it all, I think it's true. I think there's so many times when, and this comes up later, that Ronessa, and I have to call her that to keep them separated, has to tell Drea what to feel. You know what I mean? Like, and so there's a balance where I think to some degree Drea will accept it until she doesn't. And you don't know when that's going to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yes, Ronessa often tries to convince her of things that didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but Drea doesn't always defend herself. She's starting to, but there's also a clear point where, because Drea is not strong on her own, but she relies on Nessa for a lot, that I
Mm-hmm.
can see why Nessa developed this role, whether she meant to or not. She's the one that kind of guides their relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, she's doing it now in a way that serves her, that doesn't serve Drea. And she feels attacked, that like,
Yeah.
but this is what I do. And now you're telling me it's not right, but this is what I lead us, I direct us. So this is what I do. And now you're telling me that it's wrong. So I could see why she got defensive. But yeah, this whole thing is a hot mess.
So Arna says that she says things in a way that is true for her, and Drea keeps telling her, ouch, that hurt, which we all see. Nessa asks, well, what am I supposed to do then? I'm like, oof. And she's this is the Nessa we know. So I think last week's episode was a fluke, because I just uh, this is what we know, and this is what's happening. It's just hard to backtrack after we've seen a separation, and it's like I'm thinking, let's move forward from there, and what are the steps towards the separation, and now we're back here again. So the
Yeah.
ping pong. So Nessa says, what am I supposed to do then? And then Orna's like, nothing, just
Yeah.
stop trying to convince her not to be hurt. Like, you just want everything to go. This is like when people break up and you're like, can we be friends, because you want to feel like you didn't hurt their feelings, and if we're friends then it's
Exactly.
okay. So
Exactly.
Orna says any change is uncomfortable and painful, but let's just allow some of that to happen organically. And she says, is right, Drea? Do you have anything? Drea's like, sure. Because Drea is a shutdowner. In a second,
Yeah, she's
she would
checked
shut
out.
down.
She's so checked out.
So Orna tells Drea, like, when you're hurt, like, it should try not to let it be a catastrophic rejection of the relationship. It could just mean that you are on some kind of, you guys are on different kinds of journey. And I'm sorry, I call BS on this. I don't know what this is. Like, she's constantly being stabbed by her wife and you're telling her not to bleed. I don't get that. How do you not take
Yeah.
that as a catastrophic rejection?
Hey, and I took that as, hey, we're preparing Drea for what's next. So this is in your next relationship, this is how you cannot take everything that your partner says personally, because your current partner has said some wild stuff. So in your next relationship, let's practice some skills for
All right. So Drea says that she doesn't see how being patient isn't her taking another loop on the roller coaster. And Nessa is nodding and saying, like, yeah, so do I agree. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Drea, please call it time of death. Do not wait for Nessa to be the one. And that's it. This is playing out. The demise of this relationship is playing out in the dynamics of their relationship. Instead of her, she knows how she feels. She knows what it is. She had that moment where she was like, I just want to separate, but it was just temporary. But she's also waiting for Nessa to be the one to pull the plug. But
that.
you have a
Yeah.
say. It's not okay
Yeah.
for her to treat you like this. So Orna says to answer that question, you need to try something differently, for both of you. And the different thing is, how do you do this marriage differentiated? Drea asked, like, okay, so what am I supposed to do different? And Orna was like, let her have her space. Proof again that this might be out of order because she did.
Out of order.
She let her go to the Caribbean festival. And that made Nessa horny. So I don't know. So and Orna says she didn't run away and get to the video game. She went in there. So Orna says, like, let her have her space. Don't take it personally and use the time for yourself. Drea says, like, okay, you keep saying space, but she gets space. I don't get space. How did you interpret that?
I mean, I think that it's true, but also Drea doesn't want space, or Drea's never asked for space, because I don't think it's been a situation where, because I think she told us last week that when Nessa's gone, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago, that when Nessa's gone, that Drea just shuts down. Like, she doesn't even take her kid to daycare. So I don't think she's even thought about what she would do if she's had space. I don't, and I'm going to give Ronessa some credit here to say I don't think she's ever denied it from her. She's never asked for it, and she doesn't have any idea to do with it once she has it.
But wait, well, I get that. I think my question is, when she says she doesn't get space, what does that mean? What does she mean when she says Nessa gets space, but I don't get space?
I think it just means that Nessa gets the opportunity to do the things that she wants to do
But when
and
she
have
does that,
independence.
then she has space.
Right, but that's not how she sees it. What she does with the time, what she does with her space is shut down rather than look at it as an opportunity to do something with it, and that's on her.
Yeah, I get that. So to me, that's she's still getting space. What she does with it is a whole different thing. So, anyways, that
Exactly.
confused me. Her saying I don't get space, because if she's getting space, then automatically by default, physically you get space too. So I
But
don't
if
know
she's
why he said.
spending that space being tied up in Nessa, like when she gets space, or when Nessa gets space and they're apart, she doesn't go, "Oh, yay, I can focus on X, Y, and Z." She spends that space being worried about Nessa. So
Yeah, and
I'm sure to her it doesn't feel like space.
yeah, okay. So then Orna says, "What would you like to do if you did have space?" And she's like, "I don't know. I've never thought about it." And then she's like, "Maybe read, maybe write. I'd like to take a nap." Like, she acts like she has no agency in her life. Like, just lie down and sleep. I don't know. I would
But
cook.
also didn't also somebody else say those things and then she repeated them?
No. At some point, she
She
just started
added.
saying, Orna started with like the reading, and then she's like, okay,
Mhm.
yes, I like to read books. I could read more books. Then she started saying, I could write. I'd like to take a nap. And then she's like, cook more. Like, she's always wanted to learn how to make her own pasta and stuff like that. So then Orna asked, like, okay, can we work out a schedule where Drea is off duty for 4 hours? So maybe that's what she means by she doesn't get space. Maybe, like, since she's the one who handles the domestic stuff, she doesn't get space. And that's what she means, because Orna did say, can she be off duty for 4 hours? And then Nessa jumps in and is like, "You want Friday nights? Take Friday nights. Please leave me alone. Go get space. Go away." And Drea, and then Orna was like, "Okay, what time?" And Drea turns to Nessa and is like, "What time?" Jen, I'm not
Right.
gonna lie to you. I don't know when I said out loud to my TV. I was like, God damn, you can't even come up with a time by
Right.
yourself? That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that was my original point because I feel like, and maybe I interpreted it differently than what was shown, but it's that when Orna suggested you do stuff with your time, she was like, "What would I do?" And then Orna had to say, "Oh, well, you could read."
Yeah.
Or somebody said you could read. And then that's when she came up with her list. And I think I think Nessa even said, Orna asked, "Well, when would you want this?" And Drea said, "I don't know." And then Nessa said, "Well, what about Fridays? Take Fridays."
Yeah.
So I think it was just a pattern of her saying, "I want this," but having no idea of what that looks like. And that
No,
to me that's when I finally forgave Nessa a tiny bit, was that when Drea was presented with options, she had no answer for herself. And I was
but
like,
can I
oh,
go back? Because you just said that she said, I want this, but she never said she wanted it. She doesn't want this. Orna is trying to foster this, and this is what Nessa wants too. Nessa feels they're too tight together
mm-hmm,
because left to her, she doesn't want to, because that's what they talked about last time, that she's afraid to do stuff because her mom passed down that fear to her when they talked about the driver's license. So,
yeah. And this is the thing about it being out of order.
yeah, and so she's just never thought about it because she never wants it. She just wants to do everything with her so she can think for her and do all of the things for her. So, anyways,
Which is Nessa's frustration. So I think we finally saw in real time
well,
what Nessa was frustrated about.
yes, but we have seen it. Was it 2 episodes ago when we were like, okay, we kind of see what it is? When she talked about the fact that when she's not around, she's not even going to take her to daycare. And we were like, okay, that's extreme. Like, that can be
Right.
suffocating. So we do have an idea. I think it's just the order kind of threw everything away. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what the situation, which was when I asked, when I said, is Nessa a villain when this is kind of extreme? Like, she basically is the be all end all and the brain for Drea.
Yeah.
So that can be suffocating. So is it really the worst thing? Like, she's going about it the wrong way, where she's just kind of like death by a thousand cuts to her wife,
Yeah.
but it's a lot. So when she says, what time to Nessa, Orna's like, no, what time?
Mm-hmm.
And then she decides, like 5 and stuff. So I know Drea is freaking out. When things don't come
Right.
naturally to you, it just feels like, for anybody else, they're just like, oh my God, like, my partner is willing to give me 5 hours of my time to just do anything that I want. This is heaven. She's just like,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. I have to think, I have to do things and all that. So, but it is good. It's good for her too, because the other thing to think about is, not to be morbid or anything, if Nessa dies tomorrow, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's good to build the
But
skills and figure out. And from what we saw last week, because our time machine took us to the future, she actually enjoyed it. She hung out with
yeah.
friends, she went to the
Mm-hmm.
mall, and she had this. And it's like, the human mind is conditioned to think the worst versus maybe things could be better, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
So Orna tells her, go ahead and practice it and we'll see what happens. Nessa is so happy. She's smiling and nodding right beside and was like, yeah. So we'll see where they take us to next week, because I don't know where our time machine is going to go. All right. Strap in, boys and girls. It's Chris and Sienna time. And this was a doozy. This was a lot. I'm curious to see if, without giving anything away, did this change anything for you for Chris?
No, it actually made it worse.
Oh my God. He can't
Well, I
win
guess
with
it's
you.
so it did change. Yes, it made me like him less.
Even less?
Even less.
I feel like he's been through so much. Like, it's kind of unreal. And I always feel like there's some traumas that you never get over. And I think this is one of them. I don't know how you get over the stuff that happened to him, but let me get into it. So Orna is telling Virginia, I want to no, the peers. She's telling the
Yeah,
peers.
the peer group.
Yeah, the peer group, that Chris still offers himself as the guilty one, but you have to wonder what else is he under the spell of. I, I haven't been vibing 100% like in the past with Orna. So she's still convinced that Sienna is this big magical wand and has under the spell. And she keeps saying that he's under some spell that I don't think I understand. That do you? I don't know.
I don't. And they talked about, was it last week or a couple weeks ago, that with Sienna being the power and
Yeah.
Sienna being the powerful thing. And I was like, I don't see that here. I feel
Yeah.
like Chris is driving this with his story, and he's using he's both the hero and the victim in his story. And I just I have a hard time trying to support him when he's both.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm glad we're on the same page. I don't know what she thinks he's under the spell of, but yeah. But this is as we watch them get tacos from a food truck and they're eating it and just having, a great time. So she says that Orna is saying that there's something that he's still needing to reenact, and it's not just between him and Sienna. So another pair who I haven't seen before, she's a black doctor, Tashi, says that she's
Yeah.
thinking about it through the ambiguous loss lens. Orna's like, who? The ambiguous loss lens. She repeats. It is a odd words to put together. Not odd, but like when you put them together, it's like it takes you a moment to be like, what did you say? But yeah. So she says, if you lose someone psychologically or physically, you lose them in one way but have them in another way, that's called an ambiguous loss. That he experienced this with both of his parents. Like he was 5 when his dad had the stroke, so his dad was present but not really present. The same with his mom. And then with the divorce, he lost like the Tongan family, and they all say in unison, ooh. It's not funny, but I was just not expecting it. They all said it in unison. And, and in that family, and then Orner is like, yes. And in that, when he lost the Tongan family, he lost his brother, Moses, which was because his sister and him went to stay with their mom, and the Tongan family, which included the son of the Tongan mom, which was Moses, stayed with his dad. So, and then she says that with Sienna working, this is Tashi again, and that was probably triggering to him and an ambiguous loss because, he probably feels like he's losing her to work. And then that's when he also started paying for cuddles. And I wrote down, I think I hear Jen saying, I know they are not excusing what this man did.
Oh, I love that you're in my brain. Yeah. 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 And the one thing I do like about the peer group, and I think pulling back the lens of therapy and therapists being all knowing, I like this scene particular because it shows that not everybody knows everything about everything. Like they all
Yeah.
have very different disciplines and they
Yeah.
all have very different approaches. And so it's cool from a understanding the therapist that they don't know everything, and that's why they have these groups so that they can go, okay, I specialized in this, but I'm talking to somebody that specialized in something else that may give me a new tool for my toolbox to deal with my clients. And so I really really loved this peer group in particular. But yeah, you're in my head. I'm like, whatever. There's I have a hard time with Chris, but again, this hero victim. But again, all of this is like, you have this huge story, but it still doesn't explain why you cheat on your wife to me. I can't make that connection.
I mean, I guess to me, I can kind of see it, but I don't know if it's colored by the fact that you just don't like him, so you reject what is presented to you. I
Well, I
guess.
don't like him because of what he did to his wife. I mean, if he walked down the
Yes.
street, I wouldn't just see his face and be like, I hate you. I don't like you because of what you've done to this woman who, at least from what we're presented, didn't seem to deserve it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the thing. It's like it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't excuse the cheating, but I think like when you list a lot of your childhood, your trauma, and all that kind of stuff is what informs who you are and some of the behaviors that you have. I think it kind of makes sense to me. And sometimes you can beat these things and overcome them in spite of. And for some people, kind of like I don't know if I'm going too far, like equating it with like addiction, where it's just like you don't have control and that takes over for you. So it's like it's common sense to us because it's not something we struggle with. But if you're dealing with that struggle, it's harder and not necessarily common sense when you have to deal with that. as a rock that's in your brain, your heart, and your mind. So
Yeah. I guess I'm annoyed at Chris because it's not as though he's being in therapy is opening his doors to making these connections. It's they're making connections to Sienna, but I think he's fully aware of his story, and I think he's fully aware of his pain, and I think he's fully aware of his hurt and how all of this manifests itself. And I think he's very aware of all of this, and I feel like he's using it to his advantage versus I know this stuff is happening. I know where these feelings come from. I know why I'm comfortable being a little baby in my wife's lap. He knows all of this. He's not discovering this in therapy for the first time. And that's what annoys me is that he's fully aware of all of this stuff and
Mhm.
is still using, you know what I mean? Not using it, but it's not like he's discovering this in therapy, and that's why I'm annoyed.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, the only argument, because again, we don't know a lot of things, is like maybe he's done this and he's aware of this as it relates to him as an individual, but maybe it's never been done as a couple, how he relates in the relationship in his marriage, which is different. So I don't know. Back to the therapy in real time. Chris says that he had a great deal of guilt in the way that his mom treated his dad. And he and his dad did not have like a father son relationship because it was like he's my dad, but not really my dad. But Moses, the Tongan son, and his dad were tight. They have pictures, his hand over him, and he loves that they had that. But the sad truth is that he didn't. He was 17 when his dad had surgery. He did say operation, which I thought was interesting. He didn't say surgery. Which, going back, I'm sorry, I remember what I was gonna say was that when Orna, I said Jen, I put you in the show. When Orna was talking to Virginia, all I could keep thinking about when she was having the peer group conversation is, again, that is a lot. You listen to the couples tell you stuff. You have to tell Virginia. You have to tell the group. You have to go through your notes. You have to dissect what your next plan of action is. Like, that's a lot to do. These are just three couples that we see here. What in her day to day life? How many of this does she have to absorb? That's a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
But luckily
okay.
for her, she's got it on videotape. So if she needs to go back, she's got a way to go back and remember.
Okay. So he was 17 when his dad had surgery and he was supposed to go see him. He didn't. He wanted to hang out with his friends, smoke weed. And then that same night, Moses called him and told him that his dad died. And he just felt so guilty that he should have gone to see his dad. He was in control after that because I guess he was the beneficiary for his dad's wealth. And he was just 17. But when the attorneys were involved and they kept telling him that, listen, we have to sell the house. And if we're selling the house, they have to go because they were only there to take care of your dad. And now that he's not there, they don't serve a purpose. And he kept saying no, that they were staying because they're family, not because, they were taking care of him. At this point, Sienna is tearing up. Then he said when he turned 18, he had access to some of the trust and he gave them money to put a down payment on a house. And I'm like, huh, that's nice. And he says he always wanted to make sure that he was there for them. But then he thinks about when they moved back from Baltimore, they moved to San Mateo. Moses' kids were grown. Malia is the mom. At first, I was thinking it was his sister, but Malia's is the Tongan mom. She
Yeah.
was across the
Yes.
bay, and Chris and Sienna had little kids, and he had asked, like, "Hey, can you come and be with us?" and all that, and it didn't happen, and that really hurt him. I mean, I think that's valid, right? It's a valid feeling to feel hurt, or no?
Yes and no. I think we would need to know what their relationship was in the middle. So he bought the house, but what was their relationship? Were they staying in touch? Was it just I bought you the house, bye bye? Like I don't know totally, and he does get into it later. But I think I would need to know what the relationship was after the
Okay.
house was bought to know how to feel about that.
Okay, that's fair because it's not a case of like I bought you a house, so now you owe me. Come be with my kids. But I think what he was saying was like, um, now he says. Then he said now he what he feels is like he needs them, but because they're okay, they didn't show up for him. So Sienna's all baby, and then comforting him. And guys, let's be clear, it's not couples therapy, it's Chris's therapy. Like
Yep.
Yeah, we
and that's
asked
what annoys
about
me.
we asked about Sienna's background last week, but that's about it. That's all we're getting. Everything is about Chris.
Mhm. Hero and the victim, all in one guy.
And I don't know, again, Orna is the expert, if maybe she feels that is the gateway to helping their marriage, because at this point, the cheating is secondary and it's about his trauma, but I don't know if she's making a way or a path to connecting both. But it almost feels like, how do you hear all, like, if you're like me, not like, with Jen, because Jen would still be like, let's focus. This man cheated with
I
Cuddles.
would just
But if you're like me, where I'm just like, oh man, this is a lot. Like, how do you now pivot? And you're like, well, you still cheated on me. Let's focus on that. Like, you still do that, but it just feels like a sharp deviation from dealing with some of the things that he says. Which, let me just get to that. That it's like, how do you balance that and still have couples therapy? I guess I don't know. So maybe she'll talk about it next time when she's talking to Virginia. But he says he feels like Malia did not become the mother and the grandmother that he wanted her to, which gives validity to what you're saying. Like, if she didn't become the mother, what was your relationship? Does that mean like you weren't speaking? Because if they were speaking, then he wouldn't say mother, maybe he would say grandmother. And I noticed that when he's speaking, right, he doesn't look at Orna. He keeps looking at Sienna when he's talking.
that's that's a
So
good, yeah. I mean, I don't know, and maybe he's reminding me too much of Boris, where everything is like him, but you have this whole other person, and it's I don't know. Every time I feel like he talks, it's he's trying to be on TV and he's trying to tell a story and everything is so big and grand and it's like he's making a movie and it just doesn't feel genuine to me. And to your point, he's looking at Sienna because he wants her to have a reaction to this thing that is happening to him. But again, are you just telling her this stuff for the first time? And I know that she made a point about, oh, I didn't make the connection between this and this, but it's not,
I don't
it's a
know.
lot of work for
You
everybody.
guys, I would really, really, really love to hear where you fall in the Chris and Sienna, in the Chris of it all. Because for me, I'm thinking that he's looking at her because that's his safe space. Like, she's been the one constant in his life. So when he's saying this heavy thing and when he says it, and I get it that it seems like a production. Like, the thing is, I understand where you're coming from. I can see why you think that. I just don't see it completely that way. I feel like this thing has been like a rock in his chest for a long time. And sometimes, even if you've been to therapy, it could be the wrong therapist and you just didn't get it out the way that you wanted to. And it just feels good for him to just let it out. And maybe Orna is giving him that audience that he's never had. And he feels, in the context of the cheating. So now maybe he's been to therapy and it's been individual. Maybe he hadn't cheated at the time or anything. I don't know. Again, we're filling in all the blanks. So for me, it just feels like this relief that you can get all this shit out now.
And for me, I don't think there's anybody in Chris's life that hasn't heard this story. I don't think there's a single person that doesn't know this story.
Which also is fair. That's fair. So, guys, if you're listening, honestly, truly, I do want to hear where you stand on this and what you think of Chris. Because for someone that's so cynical, I don't know why I'm falling for Chris's um, act, if it is an act. But he went through so much. Like, I just,
He did.
want to give him some grace, I guess. So, anyways, he says that Orna says, and you question, how much of it, like the love and care that she showed you earlier, is because it was paid for, and how much of it was genuine. And it's almost like a question of, am I lovable? And then Sienna says, like, oh wow, I didn't clock the rejection that she chose Moses over him because that's her blood son. So he says, and then she's talking because I think she had asked, like, how do you feel, Sienna? And again, Jen, you were all up in my brain in this because immediately it's like, well, when Sienna and I were getting together, my mom broke her hip, her femur, I don't know how you say it, femur, and
Femur,
he,
femur. Mhm.
yeah, and he had to go get her, and he didn't have a place to live. And I'm like, wait, what did you do with your trust? You gave him a down payment. At least get yourself an apartment. So then he took her to the Tongan family's house to stay. And I didn't think that was a big deal, but Orna was like, "Oh my god." And I was like, is that bad? I don't know. Is it terrible?
I mean, it's not terrible, but again, it gives some insight for me into the relationship. So you're talking about this woman abandoned you, Malia abandoning you, but not so abandoned that when you needed her to take care of another person in her own home, she did it.
Well, this was before they had kids. So at that time, their relationship could have been
But
different
it's
because what he wanted was when he had kids for her to show up. I guess. Well, she did get pregnant 6 months after they married. But he said this was when he and Sienna were getting together. So I don't know.
so but there a lot has happened between the time that he's 18 and the time that
Yeah.
he met Sienna. And so that's the missing part, is what is the relationship that he had with this with Malia.
Hmm.
If he's saying, I expected her to do X, Y, and Z, or I expected her to embrace my family or my kids, but she embraced your mom when your mom got hurt. So I don't understand where the feelings of abandonment are coming from. And maybe
Okay.
Orna should have dug into that a little bit deeper, or where they did
No,
and we didn't see it. But that's my
we give
frustration.
up. Orna's not asking the questions we want, the people want. Like, I'm just gonna
Damn
give
it,
up on that.
Orna.
But that's a good point. That is a good point that, yeah, you're saying that she abandoned you, but why do you not recognize this as being there for you? Because he did tell stories of when his mom, was going through her things and she would be like, just hang in there, it's okay. And then now you had nowhere to live, but you brought her and she welcomed you into the home and had your mom who terrorized them and basically, you know, didn't want anything to do with them and still let them be there. That is a form of being there for you. So you're right, absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
So, oh God, you're making me see the light. And then, so,
Welcome to my cynical brain.
they got there, and then he said it was just like being in high school all over again. Every day, his mom kept telling him that he had to help her commit suicide, and she had a gun, and she would be like, "You can just shoot me," and I'm like, "What?" When it was a point where he said he broke. It was him, his mom, and Moses, and he just broke. He grabbed the gun, told her, "All right, let's go." He tells her, like, "Listen, I thought about it. I will put you in the car, take you to Stinson Beach, and I'll just shoot you in the face." And he was like, I could see the fear in her eyes, and he fucking loved it. I was like, yeah, I can see the fear in Sienna's eyes as she's listening to you tell this story as well. And then he said, like, just screaming at the top of his lungs and slamming the door over and over. And then he just stopped and then went downstairs and went to make a bowl of ice cream. And then Moses runs in and says, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, everything's fine." And then he's like, "Yeah, I heard like yelling and banging." He was like, "No, everything's fine." And then later, when his mom died, he's just like, "Okay, well, that chapter's closed. Close the book on that." And then a few days later, he was admitted on a 5150. Um,
Hero, victim.
my question was Sienna. Let's go back. Like you heard, you saw all of this. Sienna herself has a hero complex. Is it hero complex or is it that she's nurturing? Which do you think it is?
I think it's nurturing. I think this is somebody that craves being nurtured, and I think she wasn't, based on what we heard from her childhood and her Danish mom. So I can see if you didn't have a lot of um, not security, but if you weren't like coddled and you weren't cuddled, that you would want to be the opposite and be that person. So I could see why she's overly motherly to him, because she didn't get that herself. So I
I
don't know if
don't
she's doing it because she wants a pat on the back or because she knows how it feels and she doesn't want that for her family.
Okay. And I don't know if hero complex is the right thing. I just mean people that like fixers, that like to fix people. Because at this point, if I had someone and this was a situation that they had to deal with. I mean, you watch Summer House, and you know about Dara and KJ and how Mia was like, he needs time to like just kind of like get himself together, and then they broke up at that time, and he took that time, to go, get himself together and get the help that he needed. So I don't know why at that time, like especially since it was just in the beginning, right? That it wasn't like maybe you need time to sort through these things. You just lost your mom. like this is going on, and then we can reconvene. Because sometimes when you have things, and I think they tell this even for people that have addicts, like don't get into a relationship because it's just one thing on top of, everything else. And then in addition, I think you remember that when he brought her home and the mom was listening to the walls to see if they had sex, like all this together would have me like, okay, let's take a beat. Let's evaluate, like, is this something that I can? But for Sienna, I was just like, no, I, this is, yeah, this is it. I'm not faulting her for saying, I'm just saying, like, I would like to know what her thoughts were after going through all these incidents. Is like, was there any hesitation on her part? Or did she just feel like, no, I can take, because listen, everybody has different tolerance levels, right? Like that's why everybody just needs to find their person. One person can be like, "Oh, I can do this," and another person's like, "Yep, not for me."
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
have been curious to know what her thoughts were with
Well, and
all this.
and I wonder because Chris is a fantastic actor, and I think he's very convincing, and I think he probably was like, "Hey, here's all this terrible stuff," but because I think he said that before, like, why would you want this man? Why would you want this? So I could see him being like, oh, here's all this stuff, and oh, you don't want to be with me. I'm just damaged goods, and da 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 da, and making it seem, you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say, but somebody that makes themselves seem so like, oh, I could understand why you would want to abandon me. And that person who, because Sienna appears to be a good person, is like, I'm not going to abandon you because of stuff that you can't control. So I could see that relationship forming
Yeah,
where she
basically.
would where this wouldn't scare her away because he would be able to be like, oh, I'm so hurt, I'm so damaged, I'm so this, and she's like, no, there's good parts about you, and I'm going to remind you of those things. So I don't know if it serves her in some way to be that person, but I could see that Chris, because he's able to switch when he told that story about the screaming and banging, and then somebody said, what happened? I heard this, and they're like, no, you didn't. He's able to cover
Hmm.
and make big things not seem big, even though you have evidence that something big happened. And so I don't know. I'm not going to say she was tricked, but I could see how he can not minimize, but make these big things feel like something that she could help him with.
I mean, but I'm not gonna say like yes, he can do that, but she also has a brain of her own, and then it's also like
Agreed.
that's how it
Agreed.
was in the beginning, and then even over the years, she's still choosing to stay. So,
Yeah, that's a
that's
whole
where
other that would be 2 hours just talking about Sienna. Oof.
so that's where I'm fascinated. It's just what is the thing, that keeps you, because you're telling me that he tries to annihilate you. You're hearing how he was getting so excited about taking the gun and shooting his mom, and he was like, I fucking loved it. Like he said that out loud on TV
And
many
she made
years
a face
later.
and I saw her face because she was crying, and then he said that, and she was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, that's what I said. Like when he said I liked that she felt fear, and I'm like, yes, I could see the fear in Sienna's eyes too, like in real time in the office. Like she was genuinely scared. So yes, that would be what I would like to know. But Orna asked Sienna how she is, and she says like, I feel the weight of the web of everything else and how interconnected everything is and the magnitude of it all. And then, oh man, Jen is right, guys. He immediately just lays his head on her lap and starts crying. I'm like, see, we're talking about Sienna, and Summer House on the Brain. We're talking about Sienna, and all of a sudden he puts his head on her, and it's like he's a child. And then, of course, I think he kind of knows what she's gonna do. She starts like, rubbing his head, and she's like, "Oh, you haven't done this in a while." Like, you used to do. She used to do that. He used to do that after his mom died. And all I'm seeing is like, well, we've interrupted Sienna again. So,
Yep, it's my show.
oh man. So Sienna says that now that he's doing this, she can kind of see how cuddling was a source of comfort for him. And she tells him, I'm never leaving. Like, I'm always here. I think I was trying to remember how when he gave her an out to break up, and she was like, look me in the eye and tell me you don't love me. And then all of a sudden he realizes he's a stand-up guy and he can lie to her. And he's like, oh man, I love you. Like you could lie. You've lied before. Um, so Orna asks how he is. He says, I'm good. And Sienna was like, stop. You just said, like, dropped a bomb in here. And now you're trying to say, like, you're good. And he's like, no, like, he's not suppressing. He just feels like he needs a good cry. And then he puts his head in his hands, and I'm expecting him to like just burst out crying, but not really. Nothing happens. Then we see everyone just doing their own thing. We see Drea writing. We see Sienna doing yoga. We see Nessa just chilling by the lake or something on a wall, just
Yeah,
sitting on a wall.
that was weird.
You all right? Everything okay?
Don't
So
jump.
yeah. So yeah. So that was it. It was a lot. Like I felt like I needed to exhale after that was done. So it was a heavy episode. So thank God no
I'm so
Marjorie
glad
again.
that yes, that's what I was about to say. Thank God we didn't have Marjorie and Jason in there. I don't think I could have handled any more.
Okay, so that was it, guys. Don't forget, let us know, where do you stand with Chris? What are your thoughts on Chris? But before we go, Jen, can you share with people where they can find you?
Oh, yes, we are traveling through Indonesia. And so you can follow all of our adventures in Indonesia on Instagram and YouTube at jns.adventures.
All right, guys. Please give me a 5-star rating. Tane Talks on all social media. Always happy to hear from you. I will respond and answer any questions that you may have. Until next time, guys.